This is Nifty Culture. I'm Pio. I'm here with my partner Mal. How's it going, Mal?
I feel like we haven't gone off stream. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I basically haven't slept at all, but I'm very excited here for our guest this morning. You know, another guest of honor, if you will. We have a best-selling author, the creator of the Lean Startup Machine training program, a managing partner at the venture capital firm Stacks Accelerator, which is a firm that has been investing and will continue to invest in what they are calling Web 3.0 companies. And most importantly, a big time Bitcoiner. We have Trevor Owens. How's it going, Trevor?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. Been a fan of the show for a while now, so excited to be here.
Awesome. We're excited to have you, and thanks so much for coming on. So just taking it from the top, you know, you are a venture capital, investor. You've been investing in Web 3.0 companies, companies that are focused on blockchain and NFT technology. But as I mentioned, you're a Bitcoiner. So can you talk about how you got to NFTs and, your kind of general impression of the space and the technology at this point?
Yeah. So I mean, I um, I got into crypto Web 3.0. Actually, I got into crypto like 2013 in Bitcoin. I think it was like around $100. I had 200 Bitcoin at one point. I ended up selling the majority of it as it was coming down from like $1,000 to 600. I think a lot of people have that story. And then in 2016, I when I saw the ICO craze, like I'm a very kind of like value-based investor, not really like a trader. I have friends who are traders, and it's really interesting where they can like make a ton of money one day and then lose everything and then make it all back. But that's really not like what I'm good at. I'm more good at like looking at things that have value to users and looking at those signals from what people are doing and talking to individual people who find value in it, and then investing in projects like that. So when like ICO craze came, saw like a lot of speculation, and until like the beginning of this year, I wasn't even sure if really crypto was going to make it. You know, I know there's a lot of promise and potential behind it, but I wasn't sold that it had turned the corner. And then when I saw what was happening with NFTs, with NBA Top Shot, and also with DeFi, I know that actually a lot of that was happening probably 6 months before the beginning of this year. But when I really started looking into it, I was like, oh man, this is like the AlphaGo beats the world champion Lee Sedol and Go moment where like it's a watershed moment. Like the game has changed. I feel like things are inevitable in the crypto space now in terms of there's real value to end users and there's product market fit. And so I was actually an early advisor to the founders behind Stacks, and I'd followed them for a long time. I have, had a lot of shares in the company, but I never sold anything. And they launched Stacks 2.0 at the beginning of the year, and so I approached them about doing the fund, and we put together a $4 million fund that has a treasury and Stacks tokens, and we're investing in 100 different companies over the next 3 years, doing DeFi, NFTs, and also privacy or anything Web 3.0 related. And I'm like my background is as a nerd, so growing up, I was in Magic the Gathering cards. I collected Pokemon cards as well. I remember like when I was in like middle school, I had like all the Charizard cards, and like I was selling them on eBay for like $60, like a collection, and like that was like a big flip at the time. And now I see like Logan Paul and all these people like selling their Charizard cards for like 250K, $1 million. It's pretty intense, and so I really believe in collecting. It's ironic because I'm actually kind of a minimalist, but I also like to collect things. But so the idea of collecting like digital items and the potential that they're programmable, that they're decentralized, that you can prove ownership behind them, I think is really powerful. And just seeing what's happening with like Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks and the Beeple sale, like there's huge potential here, and like we don't even know what's possible yet. That's the honest reality. And the most exciting thing about being here is that there's things that are going to happen that we cannot predict, and things that are going to blow our minds that we don't even know are coming.
Yeah, it's so hard to predict. That's really the hardest thing, is to like have any sort of prediction as to what direction this is going in. I heard a podcast where the person being interviewed, I can't remember their name, was talking about how 15 years ago, if you asked someone what are going to be the biggest companies in the world, they would not say, Facebook, which is a company where you give all your personal information to strangers, Uber, where you get into a stranger's car, Airbnb, where you let a stranger come into your house, and the list goes on and on. It's like all the things that you were taught not to do when you were a little kid have now become the biggest businesses in the world. So when you start to think like that, it's like, what could possibly come from here? And that's so funny that you said that you're a minimalist, but you like to collect things. The NFT space is literally perfect for you, and
Yeah.
you were early to Bitcoin. And, when you look at money, the first stage before store of value is a collectible. So you were kind of collecting Bitcoin back in the day too. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's real quick,
Go ahead,
like
Malka.
our partner Rob, who's kind of becoming our VV. I keep wanting to say Vive because he convinced us that we were saying it wrong when we were saying it right, and it turns out we were we were wrong. But Rob is somewhat similar mindset. He's a minimalist. He comes over to my house and sees all my tech and all that stuff, and he's just like, dude, why do you need all this junk? But now he's going hard into these digital collectibles, and it's so interesting to see that. When it's in the metaverse and it's not taking up physical space on a shelf or taking up space on your desk, you're more willing to collect. And so it's also an opportunity and you can take it with you anywhere in the world. And so I think that provides a tremendous value. It's really interesting, I'm sure, and you've commented before that you've watched this. I've talked at length about Fortnite, and I've talked so much about how I always use the analogy of like, NFTs and Fortnite is the perfect example. My kid isn't ever going to care about physical stuff, blah, blah, blah. Well, now I'm a contradiction because over the last month and a half, I've been shy, but I wanted to talk about it with you. Now my 6-year-old is obsessed with Pokemon cards, physical Pokemon cards. He still plays Fortnite, but I thought, with the next generation was going to be purely into this purely digital thing. And it's interesting to see that we're not there yet. And I think that as NFTs mature, there will be that digital collectible rarity piece to that. And I think that there's still some of that missing. And it's really cool that you have created or working with these accelerators to really achieve this mission to fully blend the collectible with the NFT in a digital realm. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of different angles too that we're exploring with NFTs in Stacks Accelerator. I can give you guys some ideas of some of the companies that we've invested in. So with regard to the NFT space, so we have one company called Residio, which is building an OpenSea competitor on Bitcoin. Another company called Layer, which is working with agencies who work with billion-dollar brands to help them manage and launch NFT campaigns. We have a company called Glowcase, which is helping 2D 2D NFTs go into the 3D world, specifically avatars. So if you have a 2D avatar, they can turn it into a 3D avatar and represent AR, VR. We have a company called BlockTech, which is turning academic degrees into NFTs. We have a company called VeriSense, which is doing kind of like VFriends, but for everybody. So somebody a celebrity can do their own version of VFriends on their platform. We have a company called Memento, which is like TikTok, but for NFTs, where every video is an NFT that the creator can sell. We have another company called Open Art Source, which is actually tying physical paintings to NFTs. So using image recognition technology, the person who made the painting, they can take a picture with their phone, that links it to the NFT, and then when you sell them some of the painting, they take a picture with it, and then the NFT gets transferred to their account. So it prevents there's a lot of fraud in the art market. Something more than 50% of paintings that are sold are fraudulent. So this is a low. You don't have to pay it takes 20 grand at least to have, if you want to verify authenticity of a painting, to check the paint chips and look at it with a microscope and things like that, which is out of the reach of 95% of the art market. So that's some of the things that we've invested in the NFT space, and I'm happy to talk more about some of the things that I'm interested in as well.
Absolutely. I actually, there's a couple of points I want to make, and the first is about the future of kind of fraud and those types of things, the paintings. Rolex, they have to, if they're not already doing it, if it's not already on their roadmap, like they should be selling NFTs with their Rolexes, and the serial numbers should match, right? So if you buy a physical Rolex, you have the NFT, and it's the easiest proof of authenticity. If I'm going to resell that Rolex and I can't give you the NFT, it's probably fake or stolen. And so like there's a lot of use cases outside of PFPs that we've been talking about. All Ether, who's a friend of the show, was pitched a few VCs about turning diplomas and stuff into NFTs, and it was declined. I'd love to connect you with him because he's been working on that. He owns a display company similar to Infinite Objects. In full disclosure, just because you said it, and I don't want to get a C&D, I know you wouldn't. We actually have 3 projects that haven't talked about on stream before, but just need to share because we did create a concept called Layer Zero, which sounds similar to your idea layer. But it was really the human layer. Like, how do we help artists that aren't good or they're not good at sales and marketing, they don't know blockchain. How do we help them get into this space? We haven't done anything with it yet. I just want to be transparent. And the other one is this idea of Nifty Arcade. How do we create all these little coin-operated Galaga clones where you can buy a coin and those types of things? But I don't want any surprises from anyone because you're the biggest accelerator investor that's on here. So I just want to be fully transparent. Great minds. But absolutely, one of the things we talked about before, and I know, given the time of day, this is going to be watched a lot throughout the rest of the day. But anyone who is looking at, NFT projects, great ideas, great ways to look at the current landscape, the markets, and those types of things, you offer to have them reach out to you and talk to you. And so anyone who's watching this, definitely follow them on Twitter.
Yeah, we're going to be doing our next cohort of companies in a few months. We're just nearing kind of the end of this program. We're going to be investing in 40 companies basically per year. So we're always looking for deal flow. Anyone who's watching this, I'm sure there's a lot of great people. I mean, the people watching your show are like the early adopters right now. Like, I'm sure, like you guys had Tom Billio on already on the show. It was exciting. I saw that today. There's probably a lot of great people watching the show. So if you're working on something exciting in the NFT space and you're excited about Bitcoin as well, like, hit me up.
Oh yeah, here we go. Now we're talking. So, I want to stay on Bitcoin for a second. So, we were talking about it a little bit off air. I love this. I love the NFTs being built on Bitcoin, and we're seeing Ethereum as a blockchain kind of being overloaded by just a few popular NFT drops happening within the same 12-hour period. So, can you talk about what NFTs on Bitcoin would look like? Is it on the Lightning Network? Is it on another layer on top of Bitcoin? How is this going to go?
Yeah, so the thing is that the Stacks network, it basically offers all the same functionality as Ethereum. And the main difference between Stacks and Ethereum is that a couple of things. Number one is that Stacks uses Bitcoin as a settlement layer. So they created this new consensus mechanism that's different than proof of work. It's different than proof of stake. It's called proof of transfer. But what it is, it's kind of like a recycled proof of work. So the way it works is the miners spend Bitcoin in order to mine blocks of Stacks. And then you can actually stake your tokens, and those Bitcoin that get sent to mine blocks actually get sent to the people who are staking, or actually it's called stacking, because it actually is different than staking, but it's similar enough, and unlike proof of stake, where you have to own a token to participate, anyone who has Bitcoin can participate in mining Stacks. So like with proof of stake, it's kind of like this internal or self-referential system where it's like you make more Ethereum by owning Ethereum, right? And like the fees go back to the users who own the most Ethereum, and also the token holders who own the most Ethereum get to elect the nodes to make the decisions, decide what's true, right? I mean, we could go a lot deeper into proof of stake, but the thing is that with the Stacks network, because it's tied to Bitcoin, like every block on Stacks that's mined is tied to a block on the Bitcoin network. It makes it extremely secure in the sense that it's equally as difficult to reorganize Stacks as it is to reorganize Bitcoin, because you in some way you don't necessarily have to reorganize Bitcoin, but it's as difficult to reorganize Stacks as it is to reorganize Bitcoin, because every block of Stacks is tied to Bitcoin. But the other thing is that it's like very scalable because it's not actually requiring like anyone to solve puzzles, but it's recycling that like Bitcoin that was earned through proof of work through solving those puzzles to mine new blocks. And so it's like very secure and very scalable. Whereas I feel like proof of stake, they made a trade-off between being scalable and energy efficient, but they sacrifice a lot of security, and they changed the model where the system works differently in the sense that you have to own tokens. You can't just buy in. You have to acquire tokens from somebody else to participate in consensus. And a lot of people feel like proof of stake is actually, personally, I feel like it's kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, where it's not the system that I want to participate in. Yeah.
I hear you on that. And I think that, whether or not proof of stake works for, certain use cases in the future, or whether it's scalable, I think the one thing that most Bitcoiners kind of understand is that it's unlikely that any proof of stake system will actually be like money, right? Like it's probably not going to be money because it just wouldn't work that way when you look at it against proof of work. Proof of work's more secure, more decentralized, yada, yada, yada. So it almost sounds though that the Stacks project that you're talking about, that proof of transfer, is that like kind of similar to a DeFi system? It almost sounds like it's a DeFi system that's being built on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah, so I think the simplest way to think of it is kind of like a layer two, but it's not technically a layer two. And there's a lot of different things that can be defined as a layer two. There's like a really long post on this about if like you Google like what kind of blockchain is Stacks, there's like a chart with like, it lists all the different features, but it's similar to Lightning, it's similar to layer twos, but the difference is that it's actually its own blockchain. It has its own consensus. It's just that its consensus is tied to Bitcoin. And you can do NFTs on it. You can do decentralized finance. And actually one of the coolest things is that the Stacks blockchain is reading the state of Bitcoin. So actually smart contracts on Stacks can be triggered by transfers of Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain. So essentially what this means is that it's possible to build apps where an end user only owns Bitcoin and only makes Bitcoin transactions, but has like NFTs. So you don't even need to own like Stacks tokens essentially in order to buy or have NFTs on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Sounds amazing. And so,
Yeah.
when you think about NFTs and this potential here with Bitcoin backed NFTs in a way, what gets you most excited? Like, what are you thinking about for the next 6, 12, 18 months when it comes to NFTs and this project?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that whether you're like me and you don't believe in proof of stake and you think that Ethereum is questionable, or you believe in it, I think the key point is like, this is going to be great for the NFT ecosystem no matter what. The idea that there's $1 trillion worth of value in Bitcoin that could get people into NFTs, that could be used to buy Bitcoin NFTs, means that it's going to lead to massive growth in the NFT space when this gets like production level. So like a lot of the companies that we've just invested in, they're really going live on mainnet this fall. So like the exchange for NFTs is going to go live in a few months. Actually, they already did the first Bitcoin-backed NFT this summer, which was an NFT called Mine with Cara Delevingne. It was like the first Bitcoin NFT. Like there was a lot of talk about it, but the idea that like $1 trillion worth of value can go to NFT creators by tapping into the Bitcoin network, I think is going to grow this space huge because that's 3 times the value of Ethereum's market cap, and that's what I think is really exciting. And then like in terms of like what's going to happen in the next few months, I think when it comes to NFTs, I'm really trying to think about and look for how projects can add more utility to what they're doing, because when it comes to, and I think like I hear this every day on your show too, like everyone talking about utility. There's so many ways to add utility that we haven't even thought of. Like I have some of my own ideas around it, but just to see what people come up with, like I don't think that offering a second drop is necessarily going to be enough. Like I'm more interested in seeing like how can people do storytelling behind the artwork in a way that can mobilize people behind a common goal that can lead to positive change.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And I want to hear more about your ideas. What I also want to say is we're not going to make any friends with most of the NFT community here with the way we're talking about Ethereum. I'm really glad that we're doing it, but I just want to like prep everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't realize having Trevor on was going to get he and I both canceled, but no, I'm just playing. So Trevor, like, to you, when you think about like deep utility in NFTs, what are some ideas that you can throw out? I'm so fascinated by this because like we were saying, it's so hard to make predictions in the future with this stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the like most obvious things is combining DeFi with NFTs. So the idea of like I can collateralize an NFT that a company could act like a NFT bank or something like that, where they can kind of take lock my NFT in a smart contract and then give me a stable coin or give me some of their token, and then I can earn a yield on that. That's some things that we're looking at with Stacks, and the fact that Stacks has this sort of native DeFi aspect to it, where like the Bitcoin miners are sending Bitcoin to the Stacks holders to mint new Stacks tokens and mint new blocks of Stacks. Like you can just plug that in really easily. So that's why it's been easy for teams that we're working with to do that. Also, like how can you get owning an NFT give you access to a passive income stream? So like I bought into the Royal Society of Players NFT project, and like what they're doing is that as I just found out yesterday, is like they're doing like these different contests, and it's like make a pair of like twos or make a low pair, and then what they're going to do is they're just going to scan the wallets and like pick people randomly and just deposit the prize money in your account. So you don't actually have to like log into Discord, you don't have to follow it, you don't have to click a button. And so thinking about how can like imagine like you want to collectively organize people, and like you create an NFT that essentially gives you a budget to give a bounty to different people for the actions that they do. So let's say I wanted to promote a movie or even or a cause or a fundraiser, and then if there was a way to everyone who buys the NFT and like displays it on their Twitter and like gets attention for this cause, they could earn some value back from what they spent to get the NFT, or potentially even much more. I think that would be something like really interesting, is how can you incentivize people to do like promote a cause or to do something with owning an NFT is not just about like collecting it and letting it sit there, but it's like taking action. So like even like people who become mods of these projects, like the more extent that you can decentralize a collection and empower your community to like be a moderator of your Discord, or to come up with an event or to do something, and then you provide a bounty from the money raised to do that, which increases the value of all the other NFTs. Like the best scenario is that a developer doesn't make money from the actual drop, but that they buy into the drop themselves and they make money from the appreciation of owning their own NFTs. Like that's like if you want to create an NFT collection, if you can do that and prove that, like I would love to buy into your project.
The long game. I mean, me and Malachi have been talking about that. That's so awesome. And you're seeing that with the very successful projects, but not seeing it with a lot of the projects that are kind of looking for that upfront money, and they don't have that kind of deep utility built out. On the utility front, go ahead, Mel.
I wanted to interrupt just for a minute. It is kind of an airdropped NFT isn't utility. It's a burn. It's like the burn mechanic on Nifty Gateway a couple months ago. It's like I want to make sure that the value of my NFTs don't go to zero as people are chasing the next PFP. And is that right, wrong, or indifferent? Right? I think you see a lot of examples of where that's being done well and it's being done poorly. I think one of the things that you said that's really interesting is like, what's the layer 2 of non-fungible tokens? And when you think about the proof of attendance protocols, right? So like I could, let's say I buy a Marvel ticket to go, the world's opening back up, and I want to go see every next phase Marvel movie, and I buy that as an NFT. I could also have a proof of attendance protocol, so someone could also buy that NFT from me, but I'm going to keep that badge that proves that I owned that NFT at that moment. And obviously, the blockchain you can go back and look at that, but there's so many things to think about the future when we think about geofencing in our phones and NFC. Like, there's so many cool ways that people can start doing different things. The thing I keep talking about it nonstop, but like Pokemon Go is going to be a huge beneficiary when we think about how do we as a society make people more fit, and how do we reward those types of behaviors either through tokens, DeFi, and everything else. Like, the ideas are limitless. And I think one of the things that Tom said last night, and one of the things that you're really passionate about today, is like, no idea is a bad idea right now. Like, just don't be afraid to try new things and go out and do that. And so it's just an exciting time. Sorry, Pio, I just wanted to insert that comment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know, it's so interesting when you think about this deep utility. Like, I love, Trevor, that company that you said that you invested in, that's kind of making VFriends a template for people in, you know, notable positions to kind of monetize their time or provide utility. The way I think about that is, when I look at like musicians, for example, there's a hip hop producer, legendary producer named The Alchemist, and he was already doing these things where you could pay to fly out for like a 1 week workshop with him, where he would like workshop your beats with you. It was like in-person mentorship with him. Well, you know, talk about something that's designed perfectly for an NFT. And if you look at the Gary V model, you know, having FaceTimes, being able to go to a basketball game with Gary V, basically every celebrity, everybody in a notable position is going to offer this to some capacity if they want to. I mean, we see actors doing cameos for like $500. Like, I have to imagine that it'll cut out the middleman. You know, how excited are you for a project like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously super excited about it, and I think like that's a big area of opportunity, is like templatizing these different aspects of utility so that it can be available to more people. I mean, like, technically, I mean, a lot of the stuff is open source, but I think it's still a huge barrier, especially for these celebrities or these artists. Like, it's hard for someone who's an artist to actually like dig into the code, and even if like a lot of the source codes are already available, or like there's open source projects, the ability to turn NFTs into a no code environment still doesn't even exist, really, as far as I understand. And so that's an exciting area that, like, the more use cases that come out, like, there'll be opportunities to templatize it and then tweak it and expand it. And the use cases, I think, are still like, we're on the tip of the iceberg.
One of the things that really is a counterpoint, like, that is interesting. I'm not going to get in trouble, but it's tough to say, is that Gary V is doing a good job because Gary V wants to do a good job. As we templatize these projects, I'm optimistic long term on the LaMelo Ball project. But I have to say that you know, him being directly involved with the project since he announced it and the launch and those types of things has been a little bit underwhelming to massively disappointing, depending on your perspective. And so, like, the other thing that's frustrating for a lot of people is that, yeah, we can templatize these fan clubs and all these things that we want, but it also takes passionate people, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. Vitalik being a stoned cat, like, you call it what it is. But I believe that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are passionate about that project. They're going to support it. They're going to be involved. My fear is that as we templatize more of these projects and make it easier for, let's just say, celebrities to put them out there, the value and the public perception could be damaged, because if everyone has an NFT, but they only come in once to say hi the first time, and you may get a pair of used sneakers, that's not going to really drive innovation. And so I hope that, you know, the people that you work with, the people that others work with, really are those passionate people, because in this immature space, there's a lot of opportunity for cash grabs. We saw it on Nifty Gateway with TJ Miller and others. Yeah. So it's just, you know, all collectors, you know, make sure that your eyes are open for these, as these projects come, because they will. Make sure that the artists that you like and support are engaging with the community before you invest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be cash grabs when you see like big opportunities and rug pulls, and it's unfortunate like that. I think I haven't participated in a project where there's a rug pull, but I know like one of our venture partners, Alex, who, by the way, he's like even bigger into NFTs than me. He'd probably be a good guest as well. was in the esports world. Actually, I didn't mention this, but I was a co-owner of his esports team that won like 3 world championships. So he's coming at this from the esports angle. And yeah, like I think definitely, like when I was reading the Bill of Rights that you guys put together for NFT projects, at first I was thinking like, you know, the anonymous aspect, right? Of like, who are these developers? Is it okay for them to be anonymous or not? Well, there's a lot of artists like Banksy. Chemical X is an artist who is doing, who is working with Residio and doing Bitcoin NFTs, and they're anonymous. Like we don't know who Banksy is. I don't think anyone knows who Banksy is unless you know, unless you're part of his team. But you know, like for me, like actually one thing that really opened my eyes to why I think it's important for developers of collections to not be anonymous, or to at least have something at risk in terms of their reputation, is because there are some technical aspects of owning NFTs that if you're not aware of, I think are kind of sketchy. So like the fact that the metadata of the NFTs can be hosted on like a centralized server, unless it's on OpenSea, unless it says it's frozen, that means that it's actually hosted on a centralized server. So like when Royal Society of Players launched, like, you know, the idea is like actually first you launch it centralized and then you freeze it, and that it just allows you to fix bugs and like stuff like that. But like there were some, I was like shopping for cards, I noticed there were some duplicates. And then so I like checked the metadata, and like they changed the metadata to the card because they wanted, you know, something with their planning, or the image, you know, didn't go off right, and they fixed it right away. So, you know, props to them. But I was just like, oh my God, like someone can change the metadata and the image of my NFT if they're the developer. Like that is not cool. Like that is a risk. And unless it's frozen, like they can do that pretty much without your permission. And like you could imagine somebody, like if the project gets a lot of hype, like they could just, you know, and they own 100 NFTs, they could just really quietly add some more rare traits to their NFTs, you know, to maybe not make it the #1, but maybe make it like number 10, maybe make it number 12. And like, I think that's something that should be a larger part of the discussion, is like the actual back end. And, you know, I haven't been going as deep into this, and I think that there's some people working on a lot of solutions, but even if the data is frozen, there's a way for the smart contract owner who wrote the first smart contract to change the IPFS URL even after it's frozen. So I don't know if you guys know like what people are doing about this. I think like NFTs that are all on chain offer maybe a better value proposition, but I think it goes back to, again, like maybe this is why there's so much opportunity for price appreciation, because there's a lot of risk in this space, right? Like with no risk, there's no reward. So, you know, it's going to be those people who can really get more information about the people behind the projects, and those developers who can understand like how to be decentralized and how to lock in the metadata and freeze the metadata early and communicate that, I think are gonna end up ahead.
There's two things. Like one, there's this project called luchadors.io. I'm a big fan of it. It's a single developer, and 100% of the art is on chain. It's impressive. I'm shocked that he's able to do everything he's able to do, because everyone that's doing similar things is like, Ethereum doesn't work, we have to go to Polygon, like nonstop. Like crypto raiders are headed to Polygon. They're doing a swap now. But then there's also like the Whelps, which launched yesterday. It's not sold out. And like what's interesting about that is like, is the IPFS and metadata, if you trust the devs, is it a feature or a bug? Because they've got this project that evolves every 30 hours. And eventually, like once all the dragons are released and the final forms are there, they are going to lock the contract, lock the metadata. But for the feature to exist, there has to be that trust. And so it's a conundrum to think like we should be zero trust with these, you know, blockchain ideas. But simultaneously, like people are also finding ways to turn, and I may be misspeaking slightly on how they've set the contracts. I know the devs, I respect the devs. They're as non-anonymous as they can be. But it's interesting to think like, okay, if you trust this project, you're probably more willing to go in and say, okay, the contract's not going to be locked for a week, and that's okay. But then there's also these nefarious projects that are, you know, hey, this project failed, let's launch this project tomorrow and see if this zoo animal sells out. And we're seeing a lot more of that right now, where a failed project launches another project tomorrow. And so it's really tough to see, okay, what can you do? Who can you trust? And even, can you use some sort of proxy mechanisms where I don't trust you, but he can trust you, so I trust him? And like, as these projects mature, what type of brokerage can exist to leverage that trust? It's a wild, interesting space that we're in right now.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that's over my head on the technical side. I wish we had Mike on here too, but Malachi just did a kick-ass job. So Trevor, you know, when I saw a tweet today, I think it was today, either today or yesterday, from you, where you talked about Discord actually being the most important organization right now, more important than OpenSea or Nifty Gateway or these platforms. I thought that was really fascinating, and it really got me thinking, you know, what to you makes Discord so important in terms of, like, from the business side, and what direction do you think Discord can go in to continue to grow and expand?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Discord is going to be $100 billion company. I mean, I've known about Discord since I was in esports, like 5 years ago, and like I was early on it, and like I wish I was an investor back then, but you know, like I could see that it was going to be big. And also, I know quite a bit about their tech stack. You know, they're pretty amazing tech team built on Elixir, which is one of my favorite programming languages. And I think it just comes down to like community. Like, listen, like every NFT collection, it's worthless without the community. Like, if I'm the only person who owns a Magic the Gathering card and I can't go to the local card shop and play with people, then like it really has no value. And even in esports, when they sell like all these skins, like Fortnite skins, it's not valuable unless your friend plays and you can flex on your friend about that you got the John Wick skin like I got on Fortnite. Like, it's so, you know,
So does my 6-year-old.
and so like with you know, with Discord, that's where all these communities are thriving, and the fact that you can, like, Discord's free essentially. I think that the NFT space would not be what it is, and like Bored Ape Yacht Club, like you're buying a ticket to a club, right? You're buying a ticket to the yacht club by owning a Bored Ape, right? So if there was no chat where they could have these mod capabilities and structure, and then, you know, there's got to be hundreds of NFT Discords, right? So every project has Discord. I have so many of them, and it's like, you're in Discord, it's addicting. Like, you could spend all day in Discord just getting into NFTs, and that like makes you want to go in and buy more, and that makes you want to, you know, take the project further.
For sure. And, you know, how could you see Discord, you know, getting to that $100 billion, you know, state as a company? Like, I don't know what their valuation is right now. I know they're pre-IPO and they're getting a lot of hype. I think they were like number 2 on CNBC's disruptor list. So it's, Discord's on people's radar. How do you think that they can build on what they've started?
Yeah, I think it comes down to really enabling these communities, and probably even enabling people to make money on Discord. Like, if I could charge a membership for my community, or, you know, like Shopify, for example, they have like this app store, right? And they allow like, and Discord also like has an app store. And so the more that they can get people to build interesting use cases into their platform, and of course, the more they can grow their top line and increase the number of users that they have, like, you start to get it really difficult for someone to eat away your market share. Like with Slack, like if you compare like Discord and Slack, like Slack had a lot of their market share eaten by Microsoft because they went into like the enterprise route, and then Microsoft just came out with Microsoft Teams, and they were like, you know, we already have all of these CTOs and, you know, Fortune 500 companies using Microsoft Enterprise Solutions, like easy way to eat at some of the Slack market share. But for Discord, it's consumer, like it has the brand, and it's a great product. Like, I think like probably most people that are in NFT communities or gamers or, you know, young people, they spend a lot of time on Discord, probably their whole day on Discord, you know, and having that engagement. Like, I have my Discord open all day. We also have the Stacks Discord, and we like chat with our team on Discord as well. And so I'm on Discord more than I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter way more than I'm on Facebook. And probably like email is like right below Discord, but I'm not like sending emails every day. I'm also like taking meetings or Zoom. And so, especially like during the pandemic, Discord is, they were recently tried to be bought by Microsoft for 8 billion, I think it was. So
yeah, I think it got up to 12 before they turned it down and said we're going to IPO, which is like good for them, because 12 billion from Microsoft is insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think Discord has to improve their video chat, and their like, if they could eat some of Zoom's market share, I think that would be, Zoom is I don't know what it has now, but I think it's between 200 to 300 billion dollar valuation. I'll check.
And that's post-COVID bull run for Zoom, So yeah, I mean, and it's funny you bring up like the fact that your company is on Discord, right? Because even though it came out as the consumer thing, for example, the company Eco, like Anthony Pompliano's an investor in Eco. It's basically taking blockchain principles to the traditional banking world. That whole company is just on Discord. So even though it started as consumers, I think it could actually take a lot away from Slack too.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think, especially for companies who even want to, like, let's say their marketing team or their branding team wants to engage customers and consumers and like could build community, they probably use Discord for that. Like, I think for top 5 Fortune 500 enterprise, it probably wouldn't eat into that market share because like there's so many security features and so many like single sign-on integrations and things like that that would be a huge distraction for them. But like the potential to build layers on top of Discord from what it is now, I think is really powerful. Like for me, when I'm trying to acquire an NFT from somebody, I have to go find their OpenSea account name, and I have to go back to Discord, and I have to look in the different chats to see, oh, where is like this user? And like sometimes I just can't find them. And I was like, if you could just like, if Discord had a marketplace for NFTs, how useful would that be? Because then you can just click on the person, message them, and be like, hey, what do you want for this NFT? Like I'm trying to, fill out my royal flush for the Royal Society of Players or something like that.
For sure. Yeah, I think that a lot needs to be built, but obviously Discord's off to a blazing hot start. All right, so one more question for you, Trevor. You talked about some of these companies that you guys have already invested in over at Stacks, some really kick-ass use cases. I mean, I love to hear about like this template style company that's, really going to make it easy for people to make a Gary V level drop and, sounds like pretty frictionless. For you, what are you looking for that you haven't already seen in the market? Like what companies out there that you don't know about that you're looking for? Like what use cases are you trying to identify or just, what kind of businesses are you looking for in NFTs?
Yeah, I think that really like, it's hard for me to say honestly, because it's kind of like, I know it when I see it kind of a thing. I'm looking for like ideas where obviously it's like a venture backable kind of business, because like with the accelerator, our goal is like we get the companies their first $1 million, $2 million round of funding, like from our network of investors. So I think that's like a primary thing I'm looking for. In terms of like, maybe if I take it from like a user perspective, I actually made a list before I came in the show, some things I'm looking for. But I think like the idea I mentioned before about how you can build community and leverage it to drive an outcome. Like if there was an app where, I buy the NFT and then on the website, I integrate my Twitter, and then it actually tracks, am I using that as my avatar? And if I'm using it as my avatar, I get paid some like kind of staking reward for actually using it as my avatar. Like something like that, where it's like, you're actually measuring the contribution that people are giving to the community or cause. Like when a lot of these NFT projects, like they're donating to charity, and like it's a small amount. Like I think like Fame Lady Squad donated 20K to charity. I'm glad they did, but like how could you take that 10x it? How could you 100x it? Where it's like you're not just, giving this as a token because it's, what a cookie cutter roadmap looks like, but like you're actually have a technology solution that can actually like reward people. And maybe it's also like being mods in the Discord. Like there's some community or even like for reselling. So like royalties, like with NFT, if you resell it, 10% goes to the mods of the Discord. Things like that, I think could be really interesting. And I would have to understand like what the bigger business model is behind how that could be a venture backable business. But I would definitely support it, like myself personally, like either way, if it's not a like VC backable business.
Awesome to hear. Well, everybody watching, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking to get your, to pitch your business, Trevor hangs out in our Discord, and he's nice enough to promote our Discord. So that's where you can find him. It's at TO on Twitter for his Twitter handle. Trevor, thank you so much, man. This was awesome.
Thank you guys for having me. Really fun time.
Think so too. All right. Thanks for watching.